Hello digital world, welcome back to Spliced In Later, coming at you Thursday, which means it's time for a movie review. And this is one that I ummed and ahed about for quite some time. I didn't know this movie was being made until suddenly it was all over the news because of a certain incident, which I'll get into in a minute. And then it went away for a bit, and then it came back with some more information, which was more in a positive sense, so I thought, maybe I'll go and see it. Then I added it to my list of movies this year that I wanted to see, so in the same sense as Dolittle, I would force myself to go even if I wasn't feeling it. But as we came closer and closer to the date, on Monday I was going, on Tuesday I wasn't going. On Wednesday morning I definitely wasn't going. On Wednesday afternoon I thought I might go. On Wednesday evening I had decided I wasn't going. On Thursday morning I wasn't going, and so I went. So, sit back, relax, I'm about to let you know, after all that drama, is it worth seeing Sonic the Hedgehog? Now I'm going to start off this review quite quickly by saying that I know literally nothing about Sonic the Hedgehog lore. I have no idea who the characters are. I have no idea what their motivations are. I don't know who Sonic is or why he's a very fast hedgehog, where he comes from, why he collects those gold rings, or why he even has those gold rings. I don't know any of his friends. I don't know Dr. Robotnik, his evil arch nemesis. I don't know what his motivations are. I don't know what the whole Sonic thing is. Which means I was fairly optimistic about going into this movie because discussing with other people who are Sonic the Hedgehog fans of the lore, fans of the series, they weren't keen. They hadn't liked what they'd seen. Apart from the design issues, there was just too much different, I think. A lot of the magic of Sonic just didn't seem to be present in any of the trailers. Things weren't jamming with them in a sense of the word, to a point where I know a certain Sonic fan just isn't going to see the movie. So this won't be a review where I talk about whether Sonic has been faithfully adapted. I won't tell you if they have done it correct or incorrect. I won't tell you if I think it's lived up to my memories of the games or the TV shows, because I just don't have that information. I'm giving you a review for someone who's just gone to see a movie. So if I say something which contradicts to the Sonic lore, and you're a big Sonic fan and you get mad at me, soz, I'll do my best. But in the same sense as someone who goes to see a movie based on a book and didn't read the book, if you make an assumption about something, or if you assume something and it has been addressed in the book but not in the movie, that's not an issue that's worth addressing, really. In many instances, if a movie is adapted from a book, you shouldn't be required to have read the book to understand the movie. So in essence, I shouldn't have to have played any Sonic games or seen any Sonic cartoons to understand what's going on in Sonic the Hedgehog. Did that happen? Yes, I understood what was going on in the movie. It was a very basic movie, very simple movie, followed a lot of the parameters of previous young children animated films, characters from cartoons in the real world sort of drama. At no point did I go, I don't understand what's going on, I don't know who these people are, which is great. That's always a step in the right direction for an adaptation. Now, obviously, Sonic has been in the mainstream media for quite some time, because I don't know if you've been living under a rock and you don't know about this, but surely if you ever turned on Facebook, or been friends with someone who likes to show you memes every now and then, or even if you've turned on the TV, or opened a newspaper, I'm sure it's come up somewhere. Sonic the Hedgehog was supposed to come out last year, and they released their first trailer for it, and everybody saw the original design for Sonic, and they panicked, in a very understandable sense. Now, as I said before, I have not seen any Sonic, I don't know Sonic, I'm not really that invested in him, but even seeing that original design, I absolutely agreed 100% that that was one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what was going on in the minds of the people when they were making this film. I don't know if they tried really hard to make it a believable hedgehog. I don't know if they wanted to make it a blend of real life and cartoon. I don't know if they'd never seen a picture of Sonic the Hedgehog at all and were just spitballing, saying, draw a blue hedgehog with sneakers. But what we got was, oh boy, just nightmare fuel. Absolutely horrendous. Great for memes, great for jokes. But then obviously the people who made this film did something which shocked a lot of people. They took the release date away from the movie. They took the movie away and they redesigned Sonic. And then when they announced a new release date for this year on February, and they released the new Sonic the Hedgehog trailer with his new design, people were thrilled because this was a Sonic that looked like the Sonic the Hedgehog of the games. The Sonic that people remembered. Even I knew as well. I could see it going, that looks more like Sonic the Hedgehog. That at least looks like something I could watch in a movie without wanting to put salt in my eyes and cry myself to sleep. So in essence, a lot of people sort of thought, and I kind of agree with them, one of the reasons why I went to go see the film is if the people who made this film are so invested in wanting to please the fans of Sonic the Hedgehog that when such a negative reaction came out to that first trailer, that they took the time and spent the money to redesign Hedgehog to make it more appealing to the audience, is great. That's tremendous work on the parts of the people making the film. You could argue that they did it also because they were afraid of how much money they were going to lose if no one sees the film. But in the most part, I don't think that's going to be an issue whether Sonic looks correct or not. I think Sonic might be a surprise hit at the box office for a little bit, but in the long run, Sonic the Hedgehog, it's nostalgia based for people of the past. I'm not sure Sonic is as big a thing as it is now as it was in the past, which means you're relying on the hardcore classic Sonic fans to be going to see this movie. And as I said before, if they're not pleased with what they've seen in the trailers and with the changes to the Sonic lore, and they don't go, you've lost a chunk of your audience. In terms, watching this film, it's clearly made for children. There's a lot of kid jokes and kid references and that sort of thing in this film. But if kids aren't aware of Sonic and they don't care, they're all back to school, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Sonic will surprise. Birds of Prey isn't doing too well at the box office, so perhaps Sonic will be the sneaky winner of the February box office. We'll see. But I've unpacked this film for a long time. What do I think of Sonic the Hedgehog? I enjoyed myself. I didn't love the film. I didn't think it was the greatest film. It's certainly not the best film I've seen this year. But in terms of a fun evening out at the movie theaters, involving characters and events and stories that I had not seen before, so it was a brand new story for me, it was enjoyable. The main thing I want to mention about this film, and it's probably my biasm coming through, which comes through in most of my reviews, is Jim Carrey. Now, I am a tremendous Jim Carrey fan. He's up there with Robin Williams as probably my favourite comedians of all time because of his style, his humour, and the energy he puts into his roles. Whether it's him being the Riddler in Batman Forever, Bruce from Bruce Almighty, Liar Liar, Yes Man. He always plays these sort of jerk characters that have to learn a lesson and overcome all these odds to become better people. But Jim Carrey does it in this crazy goofiness that he brings with his arms flailing wildly, screaming, yelling. He's got these crazy eyes. He's good at impersonations. He's good at the wackiness. And he brings that tremendously well in this Sonic the Hedgehog film. He plays the villain, Dr. Robotnik, who's out to get Sonic. Again, I don't know what Dr. Robotnik is like in Sonic lore. In this movie, he's just a mad scientist that wants Sonic the Hedgehog so he can have the power for himself to take over the world. To run down this movie very quick, Sonic the Hedgehog is about Sonic, who was from a different planet or dimension, I think it was, but he's hiding out on Earth. And when his secret is discovered and people start to realize that he is on Earth, he has to team up with a local police sheriff, played by James Marsden, to get from point A to point B. And Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik is his primary enemy, the one that is tracking him the hardest to get that amazing sonic power and use it to power his machines in what we can only assume is a beautiful world domination. Or maybe it's just he wants to build more robots. It's not exactly clear, but it is clear that Jim Carrey is Loco Poco, and it's enjoyable to watch him be Loco Poco. So Jim Carrey was the best part of the film, but I also want to put a shout into James Marsden as Sonic's buddy, Sheriff Tom Wachowski. James Marsden brought a really likableness to his character. He was very charming and funny, and he had some good zingers and one-liners, and he was just a very likable character. You immediately see him watching the film as someone that you would like to hang out with, someone that you could count on if you were in any sort of danger or trouble, as Sonic ends up being in this film. He's got good deadpan humor in response to Jim Carrey's zaniness. He makes decisions that are absolutely correct to the character that is established early on in the film. And by the end of the film, you are rooting for him to just continue to be this lovable friend that you really wish was your friend outside of the cinema, which was great. I thought he was just going to be the generic, oh my god, it's a blue hedgehog. What do I do? Oh, I guess I'll help you. You're kind of cute, and I don't know what to do. Get away from me. Oh, but I love you now, sort of thing. Look, yeah, sorta, but it's certainly the most likable, charming version of that type of character I've seen in these movies for quite some time. So that was a surprise hit for me, and I'm really happy about that. So fantastic James Marsden, and of course, again, fantastic Jim Carrey. The movie looks great as we've come to 2020. Visual effects are getting out of this world, and this is no different with Sonic. The animation of him running looks incredibly cool. The lightning, the spinning, the little gold coins that he uses to go from different sides of the Earth to somewhere else or to different planets. I'm still not exactly sure how it works, but it looks good. It looks good. And Jim Carrey and his mobile command unit with his robots and his little screens and the science he uses to build his robots looks very believable. It's not hard to think that these were actually real life, which is great. I'm always pleased to see the visual effects not skimped on, especially in a movie that relies on a CGI character to move the story along. But that brings me to my one big grievance with the film, unfortunately. And normally with stuff like this, I would let it go because some characters don't gel with you sometimes. You always go and see a movie and there might be a character that just doesn't work for you, whether their humor's falling flat, they're unlikable, they bring nothing to the story. Either way, there's always one character. Unfortunately for Sonic the Hedgehog, that character for me is Sonic. Now, I have to be fair and assume that maybe it's to do with the redesign, because it's got nothing to do with Ben Schwartz, who voices Sonic. Ben Schwartz is putting a lot of emotion into the character, very believable emotion. He really sells the character of Sonic, which is great. He makes him sound very upset when he's sad. He makes him sound angry when he's furious. He gives the good comedy, the reaction to things around him. It's a very natural voice. The problem is that Sonic doesn't look like he's encapsulating the emotion that is being portrayed. Now, I don't know if the original design was more accurate to Ben Schwartz's voice. I feel like looking back on that old Sonic and the way he was in the film, the old Sonic, while horrifying to look at, probably would have conveyed the emotion a lot better because he had a lot more body to work with. With this Sonic, because he looks more like the correct Sonic, Ben Schwartz will be very upset in his voice and be making like Sonic is completely without hope and cannot go on any further. And the Sonic we're watching kinda looks sad, but he's sort of, there's an uncanny valley to it, much like Superman's mustache in Justice League. He doesn't look like he is matching what he's saying, which is very basic. I guess if you go back and redesign Sonic, and it's going to cost a lot of money, you have to skimp somewhere, and I think maybe plastering the new Sonic over the old Sonic was at the expense of the emotion and character connection to Ben Schwartz in the voice role, which unfortunately is a huge deal. If Sonic doesn't look like he is a real character, if Sonic doesn't look like his emotions are his own, that's going to bring you out of the movie, and that did for me, unfortunately. And another thing being that Sonic to me was kind of a brat, kind of annoying and kind of rude, and it's hard to say. I checked in with someone after this movie, and they have confirmed to me that Sonic in the cartoons is also a bit of a brat. However, he is not cool to James Marsden, who is just such a likable character, as I said before, that he just gets annoying. And you just want him to either grow up a bit, get over it, or just be nicer. And again, I don't know if that's to do with the animation change or whatever, but there were points where I wanted Sonic to go away, I wanted it to just be about James Marsden, or I wanted to see more of Jim Carrey. And that unfortunately is a huge deal if you're watching a movie called Sonic the Hedgehog and you don't want Sonic to be in the movie, which is a real shame. However, I don't want to hold that too much against the film. As I said, there's the huge issue with the animation change. If you take that issue that I have with it and remove it from the equation, there's very little I have to say that's bad about this movie. It is great for kids. It is great for a comedy film. It is great if you like Jim Carrey and James Marsden. It's fun, hour and a half, escapism film. You're not going to be bored. You're not going to be annoyed. You're just going to see a nice, heartwarming story about a blue hedgehog on the run from wacky Jim Carrey. Certainly not a movie that's going to change your life. But if you are curious, definitely give it a shot. I think it's worth looking at. I really would encourage people who are Sonic fans to go, and then maybe let me know. Comment on YouTube, however you want to do it. Was Sonic correct? Was he faithful to the old Sonic? Did they adapt it correctly? Did you find Sonic annoying, or was he correct to the character that you know? Do you think the animation is a bit wacky? Do you think it is matching the emotion that he has, or do you think it's a little bit offbeat? Overall, I give Sonic a 7 out of 10. Good film. I definitely will watch it again at some point. I would like to watch it with other people to see how they react. It's not going to be my favourite film of the year, as I said before, but at the end of the day, after all the umming and ahhing, I'm glad I saw it. It was worth going to the cinemas. It was a night out, and that's great. After all the dramas of the Sonic redesign, it's a good movie overall, and they should be proud, because it took a long time getting here, a lot of hurdles, but they made it. Well done. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this Sonic the Hedgehog review. I hope you agree with me when you go and see the film. Please let me know if you do. If you disagree with me, that's cool. That's free world. We're all allowed to believe that. Let me know either way. I'll be back next week for a movie chat, a recommendation, or perhaps a ranking. Who can say at this point? I'll know a day before I record it, that's for sure. But it's going to be, I think, a few weeks before I go back to the cinemas. Not that there's not anything coming out, but Australia has a very different release date to America. We gotta wait a bit, till the end of March, before some cool films come out. But keep an eye, because eventually I'll be back there, going week after week, and I'll be presenting those reviews to you. Until then, I love and appreciate every single one of you as always. It has been a pleasure to talk to you. I hope you've enjoyed listening. You've been spliced in later. Adios, muchachos. I'll catch you next time.